by Arlie. I'm Arlie.
And I'm Thomas Tait.
And this is an artist interview. I wanted to have you on this channel because you're doing some really innovative things with marionette puppetry. We know each other because we are puppeteers together at the Swedish Cottage Marionette Theatre. But not only are you a puppeteer, but you're actually also a real artist.
Yeah, I'm a puppeteer. I'm also a visual artist. I guess became interested in puppetry through a few different things, made me really interested in it, but I guess primarily being like a solo musician and performer and kind of like being excited about discovering ways to kind of like bring sort of a object-based kind of practice into a performance setting. So that was kind of one of the initial sort of things that got me excited about exploring puppetry. And then since then, it's kind of like developed and changed in different ways.
So you're using puppetry in art galleries, which I think is really interesting. So first to start off, can you give me how you start out designing your pieces? When you first come up with an idea, what's kind of the first steps that you take when you go to bring a piece into fruition?
The way I sort of approach objects is definitely initially conceived through drawing. I think drawing has always been really important to me. For a few years, I was sort of making these drawings that were inhabited by different creatures and different sort of invented things. And I think at a certain point, it was important for me just in an art sort of practice to see what would happen if those things kind of existed in physical space and like were able to move and stuff like that. But I think that's kind of a big part in where the design or like maybe some of the formal decisions of kind of objects kind of come from. At least I guess within art too, it was sort of interesting, or I was excited by the idea of like using puppets, which are kind of more, I guess like associated with like the world of theater. And, they kind of like, they need a stage, they need all of these kind of different things, and kind of maybe sort of take them out of that context a little bit and do them in these sort of different spaces and sort of see what would happen with it.
Can you talk about some of your materials that you use?
I've always been like a collector of different weird, strange things that you can find on the street. I think for many years I was kind of making puppets and other objects just purely out of found materials, just like found wood and pieces of whatever, garbage basically. So, and a lot of the times I will kind of like try to transform it in some way. Like sometimes there'll be parts of it that are like, found thing that's covered with clay or it's painted or, it's like I'll cut up different pieces of tubes and turn them into different things. So it's like, because found objects and like collecting has always been a pretty fundamental, I guess, part in the practice. And it just adds a different, it's like a fun kind of element of getting to make stuff is like going for walks and like finding these things and using them. It's kind of, I mean, a lot of the objects, they don't really have that much of a variety of like, they don't really do that much maybe unusual stuff outside of like what conventional marionettes do. I think this work specifically is just more interested in kind of like achieving a certain design and like a vibe or something like that. But let's see, this one's gonna kind of do some stuff too.
And can you talk about what this is?
This is I guess a set that I built for a different project. This wasn't so directly based in marionette puppetry, but when it was installed, there are different like animations that I made that were projected into it. So again, it kind of like uses maybe a language of theater, a language of puppetry, but it's also kind of like a sculpture.
This is one of your sculptures, a non-puppet based sculpture. Can you talk about the meaning behind this piece?
This piece also, I guess, is an extension of some of the things I brought up in talking about the puppets, where it's like incorporates a lot, like largely like found objects and found materials that
I
are just
mean,
kind of worked
I
over.
do see some objects that have a lot of meaning, like the blowhorn, obviously, and the fun little red light here. Why do you use objects that can be identified in your work?
I guess it kind of is derived from this attempt to sort of bring like a theatrical, again, like a more theatrical idea into an art space. Like this piece, for example, there's a megaphone here because there's a whole kind of sound element to it. The piece is actually attached to a pedal and the whole structure rotates when the viewer hits a pedal.
Awesome.
And it's kind of like this weird invention type thing. It lights up and there is sort of this text-based sort of piece that is initiated and comes out of this megaphone that's there. So again, it kind of like takes, I think, these ideas of like, like trying to tell stories, but like in objects and through them, but at the same time kind of like being very fragmented and sort of chopped up.
I went to Stomach Province yesterday. Being there was upsetting. Stomach Province is an abstract city. It has only corners, sloping walls that can join, corridors that open onto other corridors. I know there's an empty place near here, but I don't know where.
So yeah, this is I guess one of the the more recent objects that I've made. It's made out of a whole, I guess, like a lot of different sorts of materials. Like clearly, I guess, foam and different things. I find that like the more I kind of make things, the more I kind of want the materials that they're made out of to just kind of be exposed. I feel like generally when people make marionettes and puppetry and do puppetry, basically it's like they're always trying to like make things look really convincing, and I think for me it's like kind of more fun to just leave kind of a lot of the things that I used to build them just out in the open, more or less. But so yeah, this is kind of my sort of attempt to kind of make a puppet that has elements of, I guess, a shark puppet. So its head kind of can come off and extend like this, which is a different sort of feature that I haven't really used in objects before. Which is also why I guess I made an upright controller for it, so its head can kind of just be out of the way. And yeah, I'm still gonna add more things to it. And then also, I basically made this big shape with the intention, and I'm still kind of working out the kinks of this, but to basically also eventually kind of approximate a face on the other side.
A face on the butt?
Yeah, a face on its butt.
Okay.
And so it can kind of have like an alternate sort of life or something, which is also something that interested me, was making an object that was kind of like had a dual sort of two kind of identities or something like that. So again, it's not still working out different like design sort of ideas and things like that, but that's kind of one of the more recent objects.
So thank you so much for doing this interview for me. If people want to find your work or follow your work or commission work from you, where do they go?
I am on Instagram. The handle is Smitherescence.
Okay.
And I also have a website that is antimenagerie.com. Yeah. And then for commission work, people can reach out to me on social media. Or you can email me at smitherescence@gmail.com. So
all right.
Thanks so much for having me.
Sure. I'll have links to all that down below. And thanks for watching.